Okay, so what did Ibu, the president of the Maldives, teach me about running? Now, I get a text on Instagram. Do you want to come and run the Maldives Marathon? My answer immediately, yep, when is it? And the response was sort of, do you need to speak to a manager or an agent, or are you just able to come? And my answer was, no, I'm in Thailand. I'm training at the moment. It'd be great to come to the Maldives. The only thing I knew about the Maldives at that point, it was a place that people go on honeymoons. It's a luxury place with white sand, blue oceans, and it's a great place for diving. That's all I knew about the Maldives. I knew nothing else. I didn't have a look at a map. I didn't know where it was, to the point where I remember speaking to my mom about a week later. And I told her, I'm going to the Maldives. I've been invited to the Maldives. And she said, where's that? And I said, I have no clue. But as long as the pilot knows, that's all right. So I got on a plane in Chiang Mai and I flew to the Maldives. It's about 4 hours. And what I learned along the way is there's 1,000 islands and there's a small population of 380,000 people. And half of those people are on the capital, which is an island called Mali, which has now been linked to another island with a bridge. But essentially it's a small 5-kilometer loop around the edge of Mali. So it's a small place and it's very busy with motorbikes and cars, etc. It's a busy, like, kind of airport. It's a lot going on. And so the island that we're going to do the marathon on is an island called Gan. And that's a long island, so we can do 2.5 laps of it and call it a marathon. So I get invited with an athlete called Mo, who looks exactly like Mohammed Farah, from the Netherlands. I want to say originally from Somalia, exactly like Mohammed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. So we get invited because they want to get more kids into running and other sports in the Maldives. And so they want to attract the best athletes that they possibly can at the time. They can't afford Mo Farah and they can't afford maybe Eliud Kipchoge. So there's somebody like me and Mo who can kind of go and speak to the people. And the selling point for me massively was you get to talk to the people about running who are very new to running, and you get to talk to children. For me, I was like, I'm absolutely bought in. I love what you're doing. I love everything that I've heard so far. Let's do it. So I flew to the Maldives, get to the hotel, and the level of friendliness is through the roof. Like, Thais are friendly. Nepalese people are friendly. Maldives people are just on a different level. They want to, like in Spanish, people are incredibly friendly as well. Mi casa es tu casa. They'll invite you to your home and you won't be able to leave. In the Maldives, they invite you to their home, but they want to feed you. And they want to kind of adopt you. Like Mo nearly got adopted by Leela, who became who's still a friend today. And there was Leela and Lanza and, and Mish, who invited me, and Zinan. And they're all creating this sporting bubble because they've gone off to universities in different places in England, America, Australia. They've learned running and they got into running, then wanted to kind of bring that back to the Maldives and insert that into Maldivian culture. It's fantastic. And, there's obviously a limited amount of space on the Maldives in schools. So you've kind of got track and field, which has become a big thing. And then you've got to make use of an island like Gan, which is a bit bigger, that they can do long runs in. And obviously, it's the perfect place for triathlon if you can utilize something like that and maybe do a criterium race for the cycling, and obviously the oceans are there, yeah, which is so beautiful. But the friendliness of the people was insane. And now they were new to organising races, so it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect, but I love that. It wasn't like we're inviting you to the perfect place. It's like we're learning how to create events, and we want you to kind of come and test our event and talk to our people and tell them about your experiences running around the world and help to try and improve our events. And while I was there, I met the president, I met the president's wife, and I met the sports minister and the minister of tourism. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning that the race started. So everything was pitch black. I was aiming for like 2:30. In the end, nearly did 2:50 or 2:55, something like that. Like I set off and the humidity was incredible. It was like 95% or more humidity. After 3 kilometers of my kind of race pace, all of a sudden I realized this is impossible. I'm going to need to slow down. And by that point, I'd probably already lost a liter in sweat. So I had to kind of refocus, and there was a motorbike following me the whole time, helping me out with drinks and stuff like that. At one point, I don't think I was hallucinating. I've not hallucinated in a race since I was doing like really long races, and I don't know what's going on. But in this race, I definitely saw a tarantula across me, and I was like, whoa, and they were like, no, not dangerous, not dangerous. And I was like, scary, very scary. And then there was a snake at one point that kind of slithered across, and I was like, whoa, like, and literally kind of jumped over it. They were like, no, not poisonous, not poisonous. For me, growing up in England, it's like we have dogs and cats. Perfect timing. And so anything that like kind of has 8 legs and crawls, a spider is like, oh, that's dangerous, that'll kill you. And any snake is like, oh, that will kill you, that's a cobra. And so we don't kind of like, you're not going to ask a snake, are you poisonous? Do I need to quickly get to hospital, or is everything okay? I finished that race. This was beautiful. Like, I finished the race and I was absolutely spent. I was exhausted. And they came up to me and said, congratulations, put a medal around me, and somebody in a typical Muslim dress was dressed so beautifully, put a medal around my neck, and I was like, oh, okay, where's the nutrition? Where's the kind of something to eat? I'm starving. And he's like, oh, what do you need? There was nothing, yeah, apart from water. And so somebody said, oh, you want a coconut? And I was like, yeah, coconut. So I thought this guy would go to a coconut shop, or a shop, and get a coconut or coconut water. He literally climbed the tree, plucked a coconut, got a machete out, chopped it, and then there you go. And I said, oh, how much do I owe you? And he was like, he looks at me like I was crazy and said, it's from the tree. It's not mine, it's not yours, it's ours. And that thinking was like perfectly, that was a perfect situation to describe the Maldives and the Maldivian people. And then the president finished. I think he was doing a 10K. I think there's a few security people there because they've had issues before in the past. Of course you're going to have issues in politics. But he was there. He was there ridiculous early in the morning. His wife was doing the race as well. And they were both doing the race, and they were both showing the people that they were getting involved in what was so positive for the Maldivian people, for the children of the Maldives to get involved and see that they're adults. Show that they're adults, their parents, their president and the president's wife are getting involved in sporting events. They're not overweight, they're in shape, and they're training towards something that's not easy for them. How inspiring is that? We have, in the UK, when was the last Prime Minister we had that's ever been outside the country for more than a week on a vacation? When is the last president we've had, or Prime Minister, sorry, when is the last Prime Minister we've had that has ever done any traveling anywhere and actually seen another way of doing things, seen another culture, seen another religion? It's mind-blowing to me that we have the blueprint of how to do everything. Singapore transport system, amazing, yeah? Nobody's gone to see that. There's a country all over the world that's doing something right that we can easily implement in the UK, and every country can do this. The collegiate system, everything to do with universities in America and the way that they have the sports programs. Why don't we do that in Britain? It's mind-blowing that we don't. We have all, like, if you're the Prime Minister of the UK, you can pick up the phone and literally call anybody and they will answer the phone to you. We've got all that knowledge. You'd be on the phone to Noam Chomsky, you'd be on the phone to whoever in order to fix the problem that you have right there and get a specialist involved. So the fact, it was so inspiring. It was so inspiring to meet these people and to know that they would happily shake your hand. There was no security issue, and they would talk to you about you, not about themselves, about you, because they were interested of what they can do in the Maldives to make more children get into the sport and keep more children in sport when it really counts. That's what it's all about. Every lesson I learned up until easily the age of 16, everything was learnt in sport. The discipline, the dedication, the determination, the drive, learning to fail. Learning to fail. If you get your first failure when you're 22 going for your first job, there's going to be mental health issues. Yeah? And the work ethic, the persistence, like all that counts so much more than your natural ability, than your genetic ability, than your talent. It's so much more important. So the fact that the president and the president's wife were getting involved in those sporting events and smartly, you know, invited by Mish and Zinan and talked into it, or invited, absolutely brilliant. And it was less than 10 years ago in the Maldives, I think 7 years ago, that women would come back from these universities in Australia, England, and America. They would come back to the Maldives, want to keep on running, and people would hurl abuse at them from the car or the motorbike because women weren't supposed to be doing sport like that, even though they were wearing, the full Muslim dress. And then it comes so quickly because it's a small population, because they can make changes very quickly, because they can be so agile. Learned so much in the Maldives, and I would love to go back someday and race properly as fast as I can.